Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, just sitting in traffic about to pull into Clemson. Who's your top guys?
Clemson, I mean, like, the defensive line, like, those guys are freaks. The defense really has been keeping them in most of the year. Like, the offense is still trying to find their groove, but really on defense, that's going to be where your guys' focus is on.
All right, sounds good, man. Appreciate you.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right, see you.
In October, General Manager Ryan Poles and Assistant GM Ian Cunningham visited 3 schools to watch 6 top programs in just 48 hours.
So the goal of the trip was really to have as much interaction with some of the draft prospects at multiple different schools. So we started out by heading to Atlanta to check out Virginia at Georgia Tech. We went to Clemson to watch Syracuse-Clemson. Big matchup, a lot of draft prospects on both sides. And then quick jump to Tuscaloosa to watch Mississippi State take on Alabama. We wanted to get a perspective up close and personal on how they approach the game. What did they look like before the game? How were they with the ups and downs of a game? Because for us, resilience is a big thing that we look for.
There we go.
Coming from Hallis, we see our team and what we want our players to look like. And then you're able to go and see a college kid and see him in pads and say, you know what? He looks like a bear. He looks like a guy that we want to draft. He looks like an NFL player. So being able to see those players up close and personal, those are the things you can't see on tape. And that's why it's really valuable to go out and see them in person.
It's interesting. I had a conversation with a former GM, and I actually asked, like, what do you plan on doing, like, in season? Like, are you a guy that wants to go out and see players, or just going to stay in the office? And I think it's just important to, one, build relationships with the schools and the coaches and the staffs. And then the other part is just seeing the players move around, getting a feel for them on game day. It's just something that I don't really want to get away from, is just having an eye for talent and how guys move.
The body language is huge. The things that which you can't see on tape. So how he interacts with his teammates after a big play or on the sideline, how he handles coaching, and then being able to be on the sideline and feel the player. And when you say feel the player, you can feel the power in which they run by. Or we were at a game the other day and you see a guy jump up and you're right next to him and you can see the explosion and his vertical. And I think this is one of those things that you just have to do.
There are few campuses better to witness explosive players than Clemson University, which has produced 7 first-round picks since 2019.
Obviously on tape you can see how guys play, but sometimes the body type is misleading off of video. So getting up close and seeing how they're built, what frame do they have, what's the growth potential, that's important. And really when you see that in person with pads on, it helps you really get some context to some of the wording that our scouts will talk about in our meetings.
When you watch film, the tape ends after the play. So this player, they scored a touchdown. What I wouldn't have been able to see on film, what I was able to see in person was that guy doesn't go celebrate with his teammates don't go celebrate with him. The area just clears like the Red Sea. He walks by, nobody gives him a pat on the helmet, pat on the back, he goes and sits by himself on the bench. All of that I would not have been able to see on film.
Now there are some positions, call it safety, where you would want to be higher up to see range and how much space they cover. But I really like to be on the field and get a feel for how guys are moving, how they look, and how they're acting, even when they're off the field, which you can't get when you're really, really high up.
When you're in person, you get to feel the power. When you see a receiver run by you, you can feel the horsepower that he puts into the ground, the force that he puts into the ground. You can feel the energy. You can hear the hits. You can see the passion in which they play with. You can hear some of the players and how they lead and how they carry themselves. Those are the types of things you may see from a distance, but you don't feel, you don't get to hear, you don't get to see his teammates and how they look him in his eye or how he looks his teammates in the eye. So the ability to get good information is critical to be a good scout.
First time I ever heard his name was a conversation with Eric DaCosta during the interview at the Combine. He said, have you ever heard of Ian Cunningham? And I'm like, no, I haven't. And we had like a very similar background and path and position we played, and we'd bump into each other on the road. I think it was like Oklahoma, and grab lunch and just kind of share thoughts. And there was obviously just a connection there where we saw some things the same way philosophically. I felt like it just kind of built from there.
And I remember us going down to NFS meetings.
Yeah.
And we would link up every morning and go for a run on the beach until our knees started to hurt, and we had to kind of stop that. But over time, we just started to connect more and talk more, and we made a point to meet up with one another at the combine, and we've just developed a relationship over the years.
In order to make their next stop before kickoff, the duo headed to the Anderson Regional Airport.
How you doing?
Pretty good.
I think we're here just a little bit early.
Are you?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Where are you going?
To Tuscaloosa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ready to
Was it
go?
like an hour flight?
I don't know how long it is.
I think it's like an hour.
I think the biggest challenge is time. You have to be so efficient with your time. So having the ability to have access to, a plane like this just increases our exposure to have live looks at more players. I think I calculated, in this short weekend, we're going to hit somewhere around 45 prospects. Anything from 15 to 20 of them should be, in the front half of the draft. So just fighting against time, this allows us to maximize our exposure to players around the country and just cover space. We get to watch a game at noon in Clemson and be in Tuscaloosa in a couple hours to catch the evening game.
Be able to do this trip where you're going to see some of the top talent in the country, this is invaluable. It's just to be able to get our eyes on those guys, be able to, again, talk to the coaches, talk to some of the sources. This was huge for us and much needed.
We joke about looking up our Marriott, rewards, and it'll tell you how many nights you've stayed at a Marriott, and it's a lot. I think you were saying over 1,000 on your account.
Yeah, it was like, I think I had almost 1,400 nights in a Marriott. And then when you look at it, it's like almost the equivalent of 4 years that you've stayed. It's nuts, but just in terms of mileage, air miles, drive miles, all those. We put a lot of miles on our cars, that's for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I got it.
What's up?
Hey, what's going on?
How you guys doing?
Good, good. So just the guys that we're looking at from meeting with Flus, obviously we talk about it when we're going through positional traits, but now that we're in the season, like that toughness part is really something we got to have, and you don't question that at all, right?
Yeah, just glowing reports, grit, toughness, and leadership that you look for, but it's not over the top. And really for all those guys, it's going to be a great test. They've all answered the bell so far, and it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. All right, brother, I'll circle back with you here in the next couple days.
Awesome. Yeah, enjoy the game. Safe travels to you guys.
All right, you too.
All right, take care.
See you.
We just think like when you drive through here, like the history that's down here.
Oh, yeah.
Alabama history runs deep, and the football program is no different. Since its inception in 1892, the Crimson Tide have claimed 18 national titles, and the battle for Highway 82 will have plenty of talent on display.
A lot of draft prospects on both sides. A really cool environment, which was important for us to see guys in pressure situations. How do they handle that? As well as, create and continue to build relationships with staff.
When you go to the schools, you're there as a guest, and you were trying to gather information about their prospects, their players. Those schools want to see them have success as well, so chances are they're going to paint them in a positive light, but there are times in which the people in which you build the relationships with, they may be able to give you a little nugget that they may not share with everybody else because of the relationship in which you have with them.
I think those relationships are critical because there's going to be a time, before the draft where you're going to need a phone call to say, hey, am I seeing this the right way? Or is this guy good for our culture? Or can this guy take us to the next level? And you really want that true response of yes or no, and you can ask some hard questions and get good answers.
The relationship between a scout and the school is imperative. But what cannot be understated is the relationship Ryan and Ian have built with one another.
Since I've been hired here and we've been working together, it's almost to the point where he's like a brother to me. When we first showed up, we lived together. drove together, spent a lot of hours really getting everything in our process off the ground. He is a true right-hand man that will always be truthful. He's going to tell you how it is. That's important to me because I've never wanted someone in that role that's just going to say yes to everything that I say. You want candid conversations, you want a back and forth because you know that you're going to make sound decisions if someone's challenging you on some of the things that you see.
I'd like to joke that, you know, if we didn't have a good relationship, we wouldn't have done this trip together, right? I think being able to be here and be here for the last 10 or so months and working with him, beside him, has been great. Just our relationship is far more than just football. It's a personal relationship, it's a lifelong relationship. I want to see him be successful, he wants to see me be successful. Super fortunate just to be here and to be able to help him and be in this position and just ready to continue to just grow this relationship and grow this team.
2 game balls, one to the head coach, first down with me. Right over here. Great GM, yes sir. Yes, sir.
I'm excited to see these guys perform. Just be resilient in moments of adversity. I just want this group to stay tight all the way through this season and just continue to get better. And then for the future, we'll keep doing what we do, which is add talent and get better in every way that we can. And we're going to start the process of, getting ready for the draft and free agency for next year.